Hi, 5th grade. Today we're officially going to be starting Module 2, and we're working on Lesson 3 today. And Lesson 3 is going to be all about expressions. And this might be a newer concept for you, but we are going to take it one step at a time. So all of you should have this interactive note sheet on your desk. Make sure that you have this out and that you are following along throughout the whole lesson on this sheet. So 5th grade, we are going to get started with something you might be familiar with, and that is the tape diagram. And what we're going to be doing for this very first part is we're going to be taking this word form of an expression and we're going to be showing it in a tape diagram. So follow along with me step by step for this. We're first going to start by just drawing a long rectangle, just like this. So draw yourself a nice long rectangle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this expression out, and it says 3 times the sum of 26 and 4. Now something I could do to help myself out is I kind of rewrite this using the words and the numbers, but creating like a problem out of it. So I see 3 times, so I'll just rewrite it as 3 with a multiplication symbol. Then I see it has the word the sum. And whenever I'm talking about the sum of something, I'm talking about addition. So we'll think about adding. And then it says the sum of 26 and 4. Oops. Of 26 and 4. So right now I have 3 times the sum. So I'm adding something, 26 and 4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this plus sign and I'm going to put it in between the 26 and 4 because that's what I'm adding. So basically, if I were to kind of push all this together, what I'm trying to solve for is 3 times 26 plus 4. Now, eventually we will get to solving a problem from this word form, but we're not going to be doing that right now. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take this and put it into a tape diagram to kind of visualize what is happening here. So another way that I could look at this problem is I could see it as 3 groups of 26 plus 4, or the sum of 26 and 4. So if I have 3 groups, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tape diagram and I'm going to split it into 3 groups. So I have 1, 2, 3 groups. So right now you should have this expression on your page and you should also have this tape diagram so far. Then I have 3 groups of 26 and 4. So that means that each of these groups is equal to, I'm going to draw a little kind of semicircle sort of looking thing like this. And I'm going to label it as 26 plus 4. Because what this means is that this section equals 26 plus 4, this section equals 26 plus 4, and this section equals 26 plus 4. This is all we are going to be doing for now, as we're just taking the word form. If it helps you, write it in numerical form, and then we're just putting it into a tape diagram, and that's all we have to do. So we're just visualizing what these problems look like. So for your very first part of your notes, please make sure you have this right now, and we're going to move on to a more difficult problem next. So for this next problem, what we need to do is we have 6 times the difference between 60 and 51. Now again, I can kind of write this out as a numerical problem and then put it into word form afterwards. So if I see the 6 times part, that just tells me that I can just rewrite this as 6 times, that multiplication symbol. Then when it says the difference, when I'm talking about the difference, remember sum means that I am adding, and if you need to, write these notes off to the side as well. Sum means that I'm adding, so difference means that I am subtracting. So whenever I am finding the difference between two things, I am subtracting these two numbers. So I'm finding the difference between 60 and 51. So I'm going to put these in parentheses because we always want to put this part into parentheses, but I'm going to rewrite this as 6 times the difference between 60 and 51. So now what I need to do is I need to make this into a tape diagram. So just like last time, we're going to draw a nice long rectangle. Except this time, how many groups do you think I'm going to have? If I have 6 times, I can also think of this as 6 groups of, and if I have 6 groups of, I'm going to split my tape diagram into 6 different parts. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 groups right now, but I have 6 groups of what? Well, I have 6 groups of the difference between 60 and 51. So that means that each of these groups right now, I could label as 60 minus 51. I don't have to actually go through and label each one. If I label one, I know then that each of these is equal to that same thing. So this is 60 minus 51, this is 60 minus 51, this is 60 minus 51, and so on. So again, this is all you need to do for this problem. We were just taking the word form, writing it as a numerical expression, and then writing it as a tape diagram. All right, let's move on to our next problem. Please make sure you have all of this down on your worksheet. And for this next one, that we have the sum of 2 12s and 4 3s. Now this is a difficult one because there's so much going on in a lot of different things. I first look at this part right here, and it says the sum. So I know for sure I'm going to be adding something. I'm just not sure what yet. So it says that I have 2 12s and 4 3s. Now whenever you see this in a word form expression, what's actually happening is that if I were to write 2 12s, maybe you would think something like that. And if I said 4 3s, maybe you would think 4 and then 3, you would write something like that. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do with these sets of numbers. I'm going to put a multiplication symbol in between these, and then I'm going to put parentheses around them, because what I'm showing you is I have 2 groups of 12, and then I have 4 groups of 3. So when it says 2 12s, I'm showing you 2 12s. And when it says 4 3s, I'm showing you 4 3s. So it is kind of confusing on how they want you to do that. But if you ever see a numeral with a unit right afterwards, what they're trying to get you to do is basically just multiply those two numbers together and just put them in parentheses. So, and then since I'm finding the sum, I'm just putting a plus sign in between these because I am finding the sum between these two different multiplication problems. Now to show this in a tape diagram is also a little bit different. So again, I draw my nice long rectangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about how many total groups do I have in this problem. So right now I have 2 groups of 12 and I have 4 groups of 3. So if I look at my groups, I have 2 groups and 4 groups, which in total give me 2 plus 4, which is 6 total groups. So I'm just going to split up my tape diagram again into 6 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, for my groups, I could show maybe these 2 groups over here as 2 times 12. Sorry. So these 2 groups over here, because I said I have 2 groups of 12. So these 2 groups over here could be my 2 groups of 12. And then I also said I have 4 groups of 3. So then these groups over here could be my groups of 4. Oops, sorry, my groups of 3. So to kind of get you a better idea of what just happened here. Again, we had our word form problem. The sum of 2 12s, 4 3s. So I have my 2 12s, I have my 4 3s. Then I need to show what all of this would add up together like in a tape diagram. I had a total of 6 groups because I had 2 groups here. So 2 groups of 12 and then 4 groups of 3. So I added 2 and 4. And in my tape diagram, I showed you 6 groups. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First, I have my two groups of 12. So this is one group, I labeled it as 12. This is my second group, I also labeled that as 12. Then finally, I have four groups of 3, so then I labeled one group 3, two groups 3, three groups 3, and four groups 3. Remember, we're not solving from here and trying to figure out what the answer is. I just want to visualize or look at what this problem could look like in a tape diagram. So this is all we need to do for this problem. I know it's very different and kind of confusing, but it will help us kind of understand these problems later on down the road. Please make sure you have this in your notes, and once you have this down, we're going to move on to your next problem. For your next problem, we're going to be taking the number form, or the numerical form of the expressions, and we're just going to be writing them in word form. So I think this part's actually a little bit easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of break it part by part down. So this part right here, we're going to start with this. I have 8 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rewrite this. I can use the numerals, but this x right here, instead of just writing that extra multiplication, I'll just write the word times. So I have 8 times. And you should be on the back on this side, and you should be writing this along with me in word form. So we have 8 times. Now, at this part right here in the parentheses, what I see is I have this subtraction symbol. Since I have the subtraction symbol, that means I'm finding the difference between these two numbers. So I'm going to say 8 times the difference between, and I look at the rest of my problem and find, what am I finding the difference between? Well, I'm finding the difference between 43 and 13. So I'll go ahead and write that, 43 and 13. Then I'm going to go back and read this all over again, make sure I have it correct. So I have 8 times the difference between 43 and 13. Everything matches up, so this is my final expression in word form. Please make sure you have this written down. All right, we're going to move on to our last problem all together. And I will be doing small groups after this lesson as well, so you may be feeling kind of confused and lost because this is very new, and that's okay. We will be doing groups together as well. All right, so for our final problem, in parentheses, we have 16 and 9 times 4. So this problem is different because it has the parentheses first, and then it has multiplication, but we can still write it out pretty much the same way. So I'm going to start with my parentheses section first this time. So I see that I have a plus sign, and that plus sign means that I'm finding the sum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the sum of, and look at what numbers I'm finding the sum of. I'm finding the sum of 16 and 9, so I'll write those, 16 and 9. So I have the sum of 16 and 9 right here, and then right here, instead of writing multiplied, or I have the multiplication symbol, instead of having the multiplication symbol, I'll just write times 4. And that is all we have to do to solve this problem. So we have the sum of 16 and 9 times 4. All right, so that was our last problem for today. When you go to your problem set, it's going to be very different from what you are used to. What you're going to do today for your problem sets is the very first page is all about writing the word form expression as a tape diagram. You're not going to be solving the problem. So once you have maybe this expression down or you have your tape diagram down, you're not going to be solving it. You're just going to stop right there and move on with your lesson. Then, 5th grade, after that, on the back side, you will be finding the expression, writing it in word form, and then finding the value. If you ever get confused with this, please let me know, and I will help you out. Great job today, and good luck.